I had a box today from Brian. And I think at the moment the chickens are quiet and the horses just went down to drink, so I think now it's a safe time to look at it. Nope. Chickens are making noise. I don't know what this is. Well, that's new. Oh, I think I've seen. Oh, okay. It's like pop, but it's in little tubes. And you mix it, and with 16.9 fluid ounces of bottled water. That is interesting. Every one of them sugar-free. I got one chicken here. Yeah, that's interesting. I've seen something kind of like that, but not to that extent. So that's quite a variety. Cooked ham. Well, this is always good to have. You cannot go wrong with that. You know, it's funny, you used to be able to get a lot of this sort of thing, and canned bacon that would turn up in like a Kmart or something, really cheap out of Denmark. But a good food that keeps really well. It's good to have. Well, before I forget to mention, yeah, a lot of packing material, a lot of Slim Jims. Yeah, that pop is an interesting thing. A couple cans of ham. You know, where these work really good, you know, you can buy like them boxed mixes of scalloped potatoes. You throw one of these in with that, you got something. Huh. Fajita seasoned beef strips. So it's like little strips of steak. Now that would be interesting. Roast beef with gravy. You know, I eat pretty good. I eat pretty good anyway. So I mean, I get a lot of pork jerky. But it's funny, I don't have to buy many groceries. I mean, I've got so much from what I've stored up. But it's always interesting. Yeah. And this, you know, like I say, corned beef hash was a new thing to me that I really hadn't any desire to even try before until he started sending it. That is interesting stuff. I do like that. But I noticed when I looked one time in the store, the stuff was really rather expensive. I thought the main thing about that, yeah, another one, you know, it was a cheap food, but it really isn't a cheap food. Now this has got an odd feel to it. Well, I have no idea what it would be. Oh, refined lard. Lard is a good thing. You know, just pure lard is a very useful thing. I'm lucky in that my local store actually carries lard. Otherwise, a lot of times, it's kind of hard to find. Yeah. Oh, that's my barred rock rooster. Turkey jerky. Pork jerky. So like I said, I'm never short of food, but it's always nice to have weird little treat kind of things. So I have to thank him for. And it's interesting. I mean, some of the stuff he turns up with is incredibly odd. Beef jerky and beef jerky. And a lot of Slim Jims. You know, I take it for granted that these are Moxie. Yep. Because he had a fragile label, you know, a handle with care label on it, and that's usually a sign of Moxie. Because the one time, there was a couple of them that had worked open, rubbing against a different can. Could have used one of them today that was out on the road grader. You know, had with coffee. Moxie would have been good. Well, I think I got it covered there. We had a lot of Slim Jims. Yeah, the lard is an interesting thing. But it is way more useful than people, you know, like when you go to make a pie crust or something. Really, there's nothing that works like lard. And like I said, hash, that is, you know, if you haven't tried it, you really should sometime. One is Hormel and one is Libby's. And you should do a side-by-side comparison sometime. But I'm sure they'll both be perfectly fine. Yeah, that's a stock of stuff now. But like I say, this stuff, this has gotten me very curious. I would think this would be, well, how many is there in each one? Looks like 2. Well, we'll open one up and see. Oh no, 6. 6 packets in each one. Boy, for somebody, you know, if you were trying to travel light, like backpacking, or even sending a kid off to school, you know, you can get the bottled water. That might be a good choice. I've never seen that before. Or he sent some Kool-Aid one time that was kind of like that. It was in a powder in little packets. And this looks like it's a powder too. But it's interesting, though you wouldn't have the carbonation. There'd be, if you know, you used to be able to buy them things to carbonate drinks, you know, with a CO2 cartridge, which I would think would be an expensive way to do it. But yeah, this is nice though. But we'll save that. A lot of different jerky. Well, it's a haul again. Well, I did get one of the thing in the mail, I guess I can tell you. So I was disappointed in one way. Okay. This is all new screws and nuts and washers for that Volkswagen motor. You know, they sell the kit from this MP company, which makes a lot of stuff. The disappointing thing, made in China. You know, it's hard to get around that stuff. But you do have, you know, there's some kind of specialty nuts like for the exhaust that are brass, you know, that sort of thing. And I just thought, okay, it'd be nice to have an extra amount of these on hand, because you never know, you need a little metric screw or nut, and I don't keep a lot of metrics on hand. You know, the only thing I use them for is on the motorcycles. Well, I guess they're on a chainsaw, but I never need them on a chainsaw. Well, I do need them on a Belarus, but they're weird. Speaking of weird, it was funny, you know, when I was taking that Volkswagen motor apart, I had bought a new set of wrenches. I thought, these are nice looking wrenches, and they were black, so I wouldn't confuse them with my other wrenches. And then the theory is I'll just keep them in that Volkswagen in that tool kit. I use them little bags for tool kits. But in that kit, for some reason, in that wrench set, they don't have a 13 millimeter. It jumps from 12 to 14. Now it so happens that Volkswagen uses a lot of 13 millimeters. So it's kind of weird. I'm going to have to round up a 13 millimeter wrench to go in that set. But I've seen that in sockets before, where they'll sometimes, like metric socket set, they won't have a 15 millimeter. Now it happens that the Belarus has got a lot of 15 millimeter on it. You know, it's kind of weird. It's hard to get a complete set. You have to kind of mix things around. Well, but thanks to Brian, that's a lot of treats.